This is Patrick Dempsey's first day on the set with me, working with robots. It is a big challenge in terms of how you look across the space, how you have to feel them get in your space. It's not like looking at a human 6 feet tall. This was that great building we shot in Chicago. It was actually where those pillars were hidden, is where Capone had his lookout during Prohibition. We were able to look down each street to warn anyone at this speakeasy up above. So here, we wanted to do very little of the War of the Worlds kind of look, and we wanted to just keep it a brief 30 seconds. When I preview a movie, I don't do the entire thing. I try to get the basis. Sometimes I try to be very exacting, other times I try to get interpretations. But it is a big tool for me to kind of signal how I want to do things.
Hi, my name is Steve Yamamoto. I was the pre-visualization supervisor on Transformers 3. In this scene, we have a Decepticon fighter coming in and vaporizing humans. I think it's important that we showed that so that the Decepticons look like robotic robots or just killing machines, so that when the Wreckers come in at the end, it doesn't make our good guys look like bad guys. Okay, these first shots of the probe were animated by Mike McCara. You'll see Chicago down at the bottom of the screen. We modeled about a square mile of Chicago, centering mostly around the center area around the Chicago River. Michael had described the Decepticons cordoning off all of Chicago by toppling over skyscrapers and creating a big giant wall. I almost wish we had that in some of these shots to show. In this little section here, I really like how we do some of these reveals. One with Laserbeak here. And the second time when Bumblebee comes out, I think they're simple yet genius reveals.
Bringing the pod up there, that was a whole rig. That's where I wanted it to be something more accurate, because John Fraser had to build a rig how to raise this kind of pod. It was actually a new invention he had, where it could spin and it can drop on all axes. It's all done with this little hand control. You can control that whole thing by just your hand on it.
The first time we got the blueprints from the art department, Bumblebee actually didn't fit in the Decepticon fighter. It was about twice too small, so if he looks a little smaller here, it's because we kind of squashed him into the cockpit. We didn't actually previs any of the sequences using 3D viewing technology, and we had asked Michael if he wanted us to do that. Actually, it turns out that Michael just sees in 3D. His camera movement, the staging, the way he uses surfaces are always carefully controlled to create depth in the frame.
I'm at a point where I know the movie so well in my head, I can shoot a plate. My script supervisor looks at me, what is this? And it just says, it's easier for me to just shoot it and I'll explain to everyone later. The crazy thing on this movie is, no one's going to believe this. I mean, but it's because Stefan, Company 3, my colorist, he keeps having visual effects producers saying, I can't believe Michael Bay doesn't have a visual effects producer on Transformers 3 on such a huge movie. Call me crazy, but I don't have one because I have this weird steel trap memory for every shot, and I don't want to waste the money, and I know how to do it, and I don't need someone to tell me and just bug me when I've already done it in my head. So it's just, I have this bizarre memory for that stuff. So here we're getting to the Birdman sequence. And here we had to spend a little bit more time for our helicopter pilots to kind of understand what's going on. For our Birdman, how we're going to break it apart. Here, this shot, I really wanted to get very exact. This was an idea that I had, and as you see the movie, it's literally, I told Digital Domain, I said, make this exactly. But there's some really successful 3D moments in this scene. This is the guys jumping off the Sears Tower, and what I was really impressed was 3D helmet cam, and how well he was able to do with that helmet cam. I actually put that previs together before he came to town, and I showed him, can we do this? And that's when he looked at me wide-eyed. And I said, if you can't turn around a building, I can make a digital building, but at least if there's buildings in the background that are close to you, can we do that? And he's like, I could fly right next to the building if you want me to. I could almost touch it. I think the building sequence was one that we had to get kind of right. And it was technically complicated to do so many different rigs and how to break apart the sets, and get everyone on the same page. Oh, this is the carpet set. This is the slippery set, or it's the white slippery floor. And how do we shoot all this stuff first before we redress the set? There's so many people involved, and so many people can get confused. So this is a good tool for us to stay together. I guess it really is pretty much the same, isn't it? I think this was the very first shot we did on the sequence, and that was kind of the thing that kind of sold me. And then I had Steve kind of play with guys slipping by and going to their death and faced with one choice, whether they had to fall inside one of these floors. Shooting this stuff was incredible fun. I actually strapped myself onto this sled dolly where the actors would literally freely slide down the floor, and I was tracking behind them on this little kind of skateboard contraption with a camera.
One morning, Michael came to us with a little drawing, and it looked like a little kid sliding down a slide, almost looking like a Donkey Kong, screen where there's a bunch of diagonal lines that this little kid would slide down. And that eventually became this sequence. He said he came up with the idea as he was doing sit-ups on an incline bench. For the driller character, we did a lot of initial studies of how this character would move, like a snake, a spider, a centipede, a school of dolphins. I think what Michael liked the best was to make it look like a team of horses were coming down the street. As the driller character climbs the building, we use the idea of a whale breaching the surface of the ocean.
This is actors kind of on a tilted set. This is windows busting in with desks all being pulled. This was a real snake we had up on a 50-story building that was squeezing it. No, I'm kidding.
For the building tilting over, we used a lot of reference of buildings being demolished. Michael actually had a bunch of photographs of these buildings actually tilted, not quite as far as ours were, but they're war-damaged buildings in, I think, Eastern Europe, and I think the Middle East as well. Probably the most challenging part of this sequence was to sell the sense of scale to it, because if a building were to tilt like that, it wouldn't have the support to hold up as a bridge. So it was important that we got the sense of this driller character really having to crush the building hard to sell that it was a really strong structural building.
Here we are with this Starscream thing. This is where I wanted a human to challenge one of these things. up close and personal, and to show a weakness of their eye. That's Shia, who's mapped digitally, his face. It's his clothes that are digital. We then do a plate. We then capture him on video screaming, so they're able to put that face, the acting of it, and they're able to then use that face through a 3D space. So it's, believe it or not, digital with the actor kind of doing that. Shia, on the head of that, we actually got an old bar bucking bronco and put it up there on a blue screen, next to a blue screen head, so that he can actually feel like he's riding something. They were on this long cable, and Josh is having a great time, by the way. It's actually quite comical. Our crew has quite a fun time when Shia puts the wire on. We all laugh. So that's a very timed digital shot with Shia falling on the thing.
Michael doesn't use storyboards. I think he's one of those directors that likes to see the space, see where he can place the action and stage it, and then just look around.
So this was really taking two companies. Digital Domain did the interior, ILM did the exterior, melding these two into one shot. It's a very challenging shot because there's so much stuff going on in that spaceship.
In this scene, we're again seeing the Decepticons being brutal to our characters. This time, instead of vaporizing humans, we're showing them executing the Autobots one by one, and the brutality is different this time around. Not that we're just showing them as faceless, robotic killing machines, but now the fight has become personal. The rest of the story revolves around Optimus's fight and his personal battle between good and evil.
This was where we locked off Michigan Avenue for 3 days. This is like this quintessential Chicago. It's just the amazing looking buildings from the Wrigley and the, seeing the target of where we're going. That's what makes this city so special. It's so spread out, and you can get a lot of vistas with buildings that are big. Unlike New York, you'd be in a gauntlet somewhere. Yeah, it's tough when you're working anamorphic and trying to get the robots in. I mean, you give up when you're shooting anamorphic. I mean, it'd be more appropriate to shoot this format like 185, where you've got more height. But I just love the format of the 235. Producers wanted me to take this scene out of the movie. Why? Well, he said that. I said, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my entire life. It's staying in, so see ya. I still laugh about him after it hit $1 billion. I have sent him an email. I said, we should have taken that scene out, don't you think?
From the very beginning, Michael wanted the Nest soldiers to have to get into close combat situations with the Decepticons to kill them. In order to kill them, they had to literally climb on top of them.
These are actually all Navy SEALs right here. Boy, they looked like they were at home there. That was the most pain in the ass shot in the whole movie. Getting the guy to swing around using his chute to block Shockwave's eye. It's just tough.
He also wanted to show that the humans had been working several years on new techniques, new tactics against them. We were working on this sequence late one night, and Michael had come running in, and he had a new idea for this shot. And he started working with Brian on these scenes, and he wanted to have him slide a little bit more and come in with the jetpack. And after about 25 minutes later, we kind of broke, and we saw his car out in the middle of the driveway with the door open. And it looked like he had started going home, and then he thought up a couple ideas, ran in to work with us, and completely forgot about his car.
I didn't realize we used so much of this previs. They need more previs artists. You want to create jobs, that's where we need some people. There's a big need for this. It's a good way to get what you want and kind of pre-direct it, get some idea. It's really a good tool. Rosie right here with this shot, I told her my simple direction was, if you flinch when those real cars go, I'm sending you back to London. Do not effing flinch. Okay, Michael, I won't, okay. She did it like a champ. I just love how we go handheld through that reel. It was a blue screen leg, and you know, we really feel like we're really right under these things.
When we designed these shots, we wanted to show the size difference between Megatron and Carly. So we put them really close to each other, and even put her where she's literally surrounded by Megatron. And yet, she's the one that has power. She's the one that is controlling the other. And that's what we really want to show with the shot design here.